versus evil Decepticons with the fate of Predator hanging in the balance. Transformers Generation 2.
Hello there everybody, this is Graham, also known as the Collect 75. Welcome back to part 2 of my Transformers Generation 2 comics review. That title was definitely a lot easier to say than my last one when I used to do the Transformers Generation 1 Marvel UK title. Anyway, so we're back with part 2 and starting on issue number 2 of Transformers Generation 2. Cover date, I believe it is December 1993, I think. Let me just have a look inside for a moment. Volume 2, number 1, 1993, yes, I was right. Anyway, right, so 1993 this came out. Now, this is another one of my favourite covers. I love Megatron in the background. I love that there's a destroyed Fort Max screaming or something. Brilliant. I did get this one signed by Simon Fermi. You probably cannot read it because he signed it in Biro. But I did get Andrew Wildman to sign it as well, straight across Fortress Maximus's face. And I did get Jeff Sr. to sign it as well, but you can barely read that one there. It's just there. Because he'd done it in Biro as well. It was a bit annoying. But there we go. As you can see, because this is Jeff Senior's first Transformers work in quite a while. Well, not work actually, but Transformers work obviously. And so it's just cool to have him back. So it's great. Right, so we're going to kick off with issue 2. This one actually continues events from G.I. Joe 142. And we've got here on the ground that Joe's turned skyward. And we see Megatron pissing off aboard the Ark. And he says here, I beat them all. And he goes, 4 Autobots, 4 kills and 2 woundings. That's it. And then goes Biggles Jones, and all in return for the trailer full of junk that he's given Cobra Commander and everything. You can see Biggles Jones there, still in that jar. But we can see Spike Whitwick here, who's come to try and maybe defend Earth against Megatron. But he knows he needs Fortress Maximus. You can see Dr. Biggles Jones, he has to try and now rescue her. Manages to find Fortress Maximus, but Megatron has already disabled his dormant form. Meanwhile, sorry, pardon me, Cobra Commander has all the bits and bobs that Megatron did give him in the Ark, which to Megatron is completely and utterly worthless stuff, but to a human, Hotspot knows that even the most, what they think is worthless to a human, you never know what they'll come up with from that technology, so he knows he can't let them have it. So Hotspot takes him on himself to try and destroy the technology. And unfortunately that Hotspot, against all these things, he knows he probably hasn't got much of a chance, but he tries anyway. Nice advert there for the Turtles Tournament Fighters. And he does a remarkable job of killing humans and everything like that, which is pretty cool. And then we have Fortress Maximus. Now we get onto the most horriblest artwork I've ever... I can't say it because I can't draw. I'm shit at artwork. But I really did not like this bloke's Manny Gallen's artwork. It looked really childish, really bad. It's just a shame they couldn't have got someone else to do the artwork. Maybe it was costs. I don't know. But I really did not like his artwork. I thought it really, really was horrible. I remember some of the early UK issues had some bad artwork, and this always reminded me of it. I hated his artwork. It looked rushed. It looked like it was done in 2 minutes. Just a shame. So anyway, so we carry on, and then we have Megatron. Looks like he's trying to recreate. He's got a CR tank there, and he says, "Lunacy, sheer lunacy. I still can't actually believe I'm doing this. When one considers the legacy of hatred and treachery, it seems almost self-destructive." And so you're thinking, well, who can he be recreating? And we all think we pretty got a damn good idea. But then we've got Fortress Maximus, who then manages to try and take on Megatron, but he's no match for Megatron because obviously his body form has been pretty badly damaged and everything, and Megatron is up to full power and starts taking him down. And then we've got some nice Andrew Wildman artwork here. And it carries on, and back to this awful stuff. And then basically Megatron just defeats Fortress Maximus quite easy really, but then he's attacked by Skydive. Allowing Fortress Maximus to escape. At this point we see the destruction of Hotspot. He manages to destroy the technology that Cobra Commander has, but unfortunately that leaves him at the mercy of Cobra Commander because he's nearly out of energy. And he says, once you're stripped down and examined, you'll prove it every bit as valuable as the technology you just destroyed. And he says, well, Optimus Prime was very clear. None of our technology can fall into the hands of the humans, no matter the cost. And so he basically just then commits suicide. And that's it. And then we're going to see another death right here. Fortress Maximus knows he has to stop Megatron, and the only way he can do that is to sacrifice himself. He throws himself into the antimatter matrix of the Ark, compromising it, and knows that now there's going to be a massive explosion. Megatron realises this, and now he says, I've got to get out of it. I have seconds, perhaps less. Skydive figures the same thing, and he escapes with that Dr. Biggles Jones. They manage to get off the Ark just in time, and then it goes supernova and destroys itself, but Skydive does escape. The only Autobot survivor from that strike team, but now he's left stranded on Earth. And that's it, basically. That was just the end. Biggles Jones gets reunited with Scarlet and the G.I. Joe team. And that's it. Is Megatron destroyed? Has he come back only to be destroyed? Well, we don't know at the moment. Then we come up to what is going to be a new feature in the comics, right up until issue number 11. It's going to have two stories. It's going to have like a backup story. So it can focus on two different events at once. And then we come, which is a strange story. It is actually a story out of continuity. We have Optimus Prime and his Autobots facing off against Bludgeon and his Decepticons. The first time we've seen them since Generation 1. Basically, Optimus Prime has come to this planet in search of weapons because he knows he needs them against Jaxus and all these other limitless Decepticons out in space. And Bludgeon's come to get them because obviously they want weapons for themselves. But in this, Bludgeon seems to know all about these other Decepticons, which is a bit strange, because that just doesn't work, because they don't know about all these other Decepticons, as we'll get further on into the story. But that is it, really. Not much that happens in this one. This was supposed to have been a Halloween story or something like that. That's why it's a bit dark and a bit creepy and everything. And as you can see, they're battling over these weapons, and then Hot Rod's been sent off to try and maybe, I don't know, what's the word? We'll come to it in a second. Here we go, and it creates this thing, really. And it says, and it just pops along. It says, "Leave it now before I destroy you all. There are forces here enough to level planets, devastate whole galaxies, and I am their guardian for all eternity." And it says, here we go. It says, "Impressive, Hot Rod. You'd have outdone yourself. One ordered you to find a computer terminal and create something holographic and ghostly, which would impress Bludgeon, who's known to respect all things spiritual. I never imagined it would be this convincing." And then we have a Decepticon that's obviously not taking it for granted and tries shooting at this weird thing. And then somebody just gets destroyed. And then Bludgeon, thinking, that's it, I'm off. They all leg it. And they all think this is some sort of weird creation of Hot Rod's. But of course he says, but Hot Rod, but says, "Sorry guys, the system was just too alien, couldn't figure it out. I let you down." And then we just have Optimus Prime going, "Ah." So then it says, "One and one pretty frantic, exit later." And he says, he goes, "Perhaps it is for the best. Our indecent haste to secure this technology has stirred ugly ghosts from our own past, tempting us down a quicker, easier route trod by the Decepticons." And he goes, "We'll just have to use what we already possess in abundance. Sheer guts and determination." And that was it. And the Transformers are now back. Absolutely brilliant. We move on to the Halloween special. So let me put that down there. The Halloween special was slightly oversized. I managed to pick this up off eBay about 6-7 years ago. I can't remember. Some guy had quite a few of them, and it was basically it was a bit like the free comic book day that you get now. They did used to do this back then, and it was basically just the backup story out of that one that was produced in October. Obviously, you can see that it's free, and it's called Ghost in the Machine, Transformers Generation 2 Halloween Special Edition. Did get this signed by Simon Furman. Yeah, I did get this off a guy off eBay. I bought it for a tenner. And he had about 20 of them, and they sold out just like that. They really did go very quickly, so I was lucky to get one in the end. But I've never ever seen these again. I never saw them at the time or anything. So I was pretty damn pleased about getting it, because obviously it does feature. Everything else is exactly the same. It has no adverts or nothing in it. But it does have quite a new cover by Jeff Senior, which is pretty cool. But it is from sort of artwork that's inside, but at least it's sort of newish. As you can see there, it's just got the end of the comic there. But that, I mean, it is oversized. It should have been like cut down just here and here, but as you can see, it's left it on, and it is pretty cool. It was a nice little addition, that. Right, so we're going to move on to issue number 3 of Transformers Generation 2, and this story actually is a kind of reworking of Transformers UK number 100, where Optimus Prime goes to that weird dimension and there's some aliens trying to make them fight. Basically this one happens where Jax has been suing the Autobots for a while, kind of after they escaped from their ship on issue 1, and then shot them down over this planet where these beings live or something, and it just causes loads of anger in them to fight and everything, because usually Jaxus is kind of like Shockwave in this, where he's trying to distance his emotions by icy control and everything like that. And so now he's like turning feral again and everything, and he really hates it, as you can see. And you know, there's not much happens in this issue, if I'm honest. It's just basically a reworking of that story. But Hound manages to figure it out because he's still aboard the ship. And then we can see what Jaxus was like on Cybertron before he left. He was Lord Jaxus, pretty much a bit the same as Straxus, really. But then he says, you know, he distances his emotions by icy control, but now he's slipping down that path again. And this is kind of relevant because this is what happens to him by the end of this conclusion of these 12 issues. We'll see that he's reverted back to this tyrant that he was, which is pretty cool. But anyway, he realises they have to stop fighting. You can see these weird aliens there that look like shadows. The Autobots leave. They know they can't fight anymore, because otherwise it will just basically cause the aliens to re-attack them or something. I can't remember. But they allows the Autobots to leave, and then Jaxus says, target the planet and mark it for colonisation. So they destroy all the aliens there. And he goes, still the nagging doubt remains, but he knows there's a doubt that that will last only as long as he allows the Autobots to live. That's what he was just saying about how he's now going back down the emotional route and stuff like that. Now we come to the backup story, which is Old Evils, and now we find that basically the Decepticons now have a new ship called the War World. I'm just going to see if I turn it out like that. And basically they destroy the ship, and it shows what they've been doing. They've been plundering alien technology, and basically then just making their own ship bigger and larger, until now this is like the size of a moon and everything like that. And that's just what the Decepticons fly around in now. It's kind of like the original Decepticon ideal, where they were going to turn Cybertron into a basically working battle station. This is kind of that idea. And so he destroys this little alien ship and goes, bring it in and strip it down for using all parts and weaponry. Our new course, Lord Bludgeon? And if this is Bludgeon speaking, he goes, below my new army awaits the spark of life, the creation force Optimus Prime alone has access to, but how to draw him out, away from the safe havens of Cybertron and Autobase. Wait, of course, the planet he has shown such concern and affection for in the past. Set course for Earth. I love that picture down there. That's such an evil face of Bludgeon there. Brilliant one. Right, and that was really all that issue, really. Let's move on to issue number 4. This one is features the Dinobots. The Dinobots, we start off with another vision for Optimus Prime of the impending apocalypse. It's soon going to be visited upon him. As you can see, there's definitely something about this vision because it burns through his outer skin and everything like that. So you can see it's something that's going to destroy him, basically. And then we move, and it's like he's asleep. And he's basically, Cup just woke him up there to tell him that Grimlock and a raiding party have just left to attack the Decepticons. Rather than wait around, they think direct action is the best. So they steal a shuttlecraft and are going to attack the Decepticon ship Twilight. Other than that, not much happens here, but a few people do get killed. Yeah, I can't remember who does die first. We've got this. Obviously, they walk straight into a trap. Grimlock is a bit upset about it. And then Red Alert, his only ever appearance in a comic, and he lasts all of one page, and then he just gets destroyed at the end. There you can see him dead on the floor. And then Grimlock realises that he's made a fatal error. He wanted action and he wanted to spur his troops into life, but he knows now that Optimus Prime's where he doesn't always want to do the attacking, is because he's also thinking of his own troops rather than himself, where he was thinking of his troops, but also he wanted a bit of action and everything, and he realises there's more to being a leader than just direct action. You've got to think of all the consequences and everything. But then Optimus Prime does come to the rescue, and I believe someone else does die around here somewhere around. Here we go. Yeah, old Mirage does end up dying. And that's it. But Optimus Prime has a deal for Grimlock. He says he's going to leave him in command while he travels back to Cybertron. And that is it. And he says, we all make mistakes, my friend, myself included. The trick is to learn from them. And so now we have the backup story, which is Tales of Earth, Part 1. And now we can see Apocalypse has now been visited on Earth. I loved all the little skulls and things there, with the war world just orbiting Earth and just destroying it from above. And that's it. And they've issued no demands, no nothing. They're just destroying the world. Bludgeon hopes that the word of this will get back to Optimus Prime, and he'll come scurrying from the safe havens of Autobase and Cybertron to save this planet. So now, after they've destroyed quite a bit of it, they decide to attack themselves, and this time they just basically fly around. He says, Darkwing, maintain the perimeter and discourage any airborne incursion. What about us, Bludgeon? What's the plan? Plan? I just want you to destroy anything and everything you encounter. We see Quake here. He says, gee, boss, you sure know how to keep the troops smiling. We see a nice picture of Weird Wolf. And that's it. I love it how all the Decepticons now have all the new insignias. I thought that was really, really cool. Anyway, so then this issue basically just ends now, where he thinks he's drawn Optimus Prime out, because we can see then there's a shot that basically knocks the sword straight out of Bludgeon's hands, but instead of Optimus Prime, it's Megatron. And I love this bit. He goes, Megatron, Starscream, but Megatron says, you have something of mine, namely the leadership of the Decepticons. I want it back over your dead body. I love that. That was brilliant. Right, so we move on to issue number 5. Right, so here we are, issue number 5. This is another one of my all-time favourite Transformers covers. Just absolutely brilliant. I just love the way he's holding the severed head of Bludgeon in his hands while smiling at it, man. I just love the big splat in the background. I thought it was brilliant. I love all the loose cables hanging down that are supposed to represent, like, if it was a human head, like veins and, you know, the bones and spinal column and everything. I thought that was absolutely brilliant. Fantastic cover. I do love that one. I did get this one signed by Simon Furman as well. So we kick off in this issue with Optimus Prime. He has travelled to the centre of, well, maybe not the centre of Cybertron, but where we have the acolytes of Primus. And he wants to basically, he needs a vision of, well, he needs to determine what these visions are. So he travels to somewhere where it's going to have a kind of resonance with the Matrix, and it will allow him to commune with the Matrix, or something like that, basically. So anyway, so here we have, he's on this turntable, and that's going to do it. So it disappears down here, and then he disappears, basically. I've got to stop saying basically, bloody hell. Anyway, so we come on, we change of place, and we have the Jaxus there. Trying to remember what's actually happening here. This is obviously where there's Cyber form in some world, and he wants to know why the Autobots aren't attacking. There's got to be something wrong. He doesn't quite understand what. Anyway, so then we come to Optimus Prime. And he is given a vision of the Transformers creation, where the very first Transformer basically pulled himself free of the surface of Cybertron and became the first Transformer. And then from that, other Transformers arose from Cybertron. They became the Transformers. Then suddenly he's thrust many years into the future. And it goes on to the creation. It goes a punishment. It goes an actual, not Optimum in chronospace. I still don't. And then I do. I see exactly what it's trying to tell me. And you see some weird sort of thing going here as we move on. Meanwhile, we've got some sort of like little drill exercise on a moon and everything like that. Nothing really much happening too much. And then we come back to Optimus Prime, and he sees that basically now the Transformers are cell dividing. Kind of like what cells do, that's how we replicate. So the Transformers now manage to replicate themselves. Similar to the process of cell division. And now he thought, well, maybe this is why he didn't know Jax. This is the fact that he was a small cog back when he was on Cybertron, and that he just didn't know him. You know, and only rose to prominence during the time that he left Cybertron. But now he realises that he just didn't exist back when Optimus Prime was on Cybertron. He was created long after. And this is it. And he says, obviously, what he realises, or what he thinks he realises from this vision as he breaks contact a little too soon, is that the Transformers are now growing far too quickly and spreading much too quickly. This is why there's countless Decepticons in this other quadrant of the galaxy. Basically, just replicating over and over and over again. And So he says, I need help, and I think I know where to get it. And he goes, a moment too soon. Had Prime lingered a second longer, he would have seen the same process repeated and repeated, until finally the energy release is tinged with darkness, a tangible mass that drifts off into space. It moves with direction and purpose. And that is the creation of the swarm. He goes, and that is what the actual message was trying to tell him about, not actually the Decepticons. Anyway, so then we come to the backup story, which is Tales of Earth Part 2. And this is it, and it basically is just Megatron against Bludgeon. And we all know how this one's going to end. Not well for Bludgeon, let's just put it that way. He does take down Darkwing as well, and we see the return of Starscream, of course. And of course we see him rip off Bludgeon's head. But of course Bludgeon is a pretender, so that wasn't really his head, but he does transform into his little tank mode and tries taking down Megatron. But he's no match for Megatron, and Megatron just casually transforms and destroys him, really. Just a shame it was a very, very quick issue. That is the shame of that one. And so we have Megatron now back as leader of the Decepticons. And we have Skydive there now. He knows he's got to get back in contact with Optimus Prime and tell him that Megatron is back with a vengeance. So then we move on to issue number 6. And the final issue of Part 2. Nice cool cover, that one. Love this. Prime target. And you see everyone's got their guns on Optimus Prime. So we start off with Tales of Earth Part 3. And now we see the army that Bludgeon was trying to create if Optimus Prime had turned up with the creation force. So Megatron thinks, well, it's a good plan, I'll just stick with it. And so they continue with their destruction of Earth. And this is now where we see the reintroduction of many of our classic Decepticon heroes, anti-heroes probably, isn't it? With Thundercracker, we see Soundwave with Rumble and Frenzy in the background there. Probably because these are Decepticons Megatron knows well. So of course he's going to surround himself with people he can trust rather than the others. They're trying to recreate Darkwing here. And we wait at one. Optimus Prime does turn up alone. And he says, this is it. Earth is in chains and in ruins. We needed a mass of Autobots, not just one. And Optimus Prime does say, if I'd have come here with a whole Autobots, the devastation would have been catastrophic, but at least this way I can try and talk Megatron around. Soundwave does say that he's here. So, events move on. Grimlock says, well, where's Optimus Prime? Prowl says, well, he's gone off to Earth to try and talk to Megatron. And he says, on his own? You've got to be joking, ain't you? And he says, no, Prime said, that's the best thing. You don't want to go there and ruin everything, do you? But obviously Grimlock knows that that's a mistake and that he should go there. So anyway, so we come back to Earth. Optimus Prime does take down, I believe it is Tantrum. Or was it Headstrong? I can't remember. I think it was Tantrum. I always get them two mixed up. And ends up just destroying him, which is brilliant. And then we get finally what we probably waited for years, a decent battle between Optimus Prime and Megatron, where Megatron wins, and it says, Megatron, it's time we talked, and it says the time for talk is long past. I just wish a decent artist had done this, someone like maybe, I don't know, Jeff Sr., Derek Yaniger, because that would have looked fantastic, I reckon. Maybe Jeff Sr. He was brilliant, he was my all-time favourite Transformers artist. And it just goes on from there. Optimus Prime tries telling him of these other Decepticons, but Megatron is just not in the listening mood. He goes, all these defeats over the years, everything is going to be paid for in full tonight. And he just electrocutes him with his green electricity, rips off his chest, and then takes this siphon and takes the Matrix from Optimus Prime. And here we are. He goes, I wanted so much to reach him, to bring him back. He goes, but I may have doomed us all. Please don't let this be the one time he actually obeys orders. And this is where he tries to tell him about these other Decepticons. He just says, hush, darkness gathers. But then Grimlock does save the day, because Optimus Prime knew that once he found out, he would have come with a thing if his little plan didn't work, and obviously it didn't. So that was where Prime's wisdom did always wins through. And then we just have the Autobots trying to take down the Decepticons here. The Decepticons realising they got what we came for, go back to their ship, and Optimus Prime knows that they're truly looking at a dark hour. And then we come to this strange planet here, and where we see the attack of the swarm, where it decides to attack all these metallic creatures and then just absorbs them. Anyway, that was part 2. Bye for now.
Heroic Autobots versus evil Decepticons with the big predator hanging in the balance. Transformers Generation 2. And now, through the magic of the Cybernet Space Cube, the computer-enhanced stories of the Transformers. Transformers Generation 2.